S. Gandhi College of Engineering has invited me to give some view to share our experience regarding some repairs and rehabilitation. So today I will start with the topic which I have chosen, that is RCC structure distress, causes, its testings, its repair material, and what are the remedies for the same. So before going to causes, first we will understand some terminologies. So what you say about what is repair, what is rehabilitation, and what is the restorations. This terminology has a little bit a difference in their own understanding. So what you call a repair? So repair is a process of reconstruction and the renewal of the existing buildings, either wholly or in part. That you can call a repair. Rehabilitations. Rehabilitations is an upgrade required to meet the present need. It implies a sensitivity to building features and sympathetic matching of the original construction.
Vijay bhai,
Yes.
are you on first slide or second slide?
Second slide.
We just visible. We are just seeing the first slide only.
Okay.
Now it's third slide, strengthening and retrofit.
Now second slide.
Yes, now second slide, perfect.
Full screen. I think, is it visible now? Second slide.
Yes, it is. Yes, second slide is visible. Just change to third slide so that we can confirm it. खाली एक slide change करी जुओ.
Third slide. Now you can visible. Third slide.
No, it is second slide. ले विजय भाई તમે છે ને slide show કરીને પછી screen share करो. हाँ, now it's changing. Okay, fine. Now it's okay.
It's after starting a slide, so I should share. You can share. Just 1 minute. I will do it again. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, visible. Second slide.
Now it's full screen, I think. Visible?
1 minute.
So we are discussing about the terminology. So we have I talk about the repairs, rehabilitation, and what is the restoration? Restoration is a very restrictive term than the rehabilitation. It suggests the replicating the structures as originally built. It's called a restoration. So on monument structures, we do a restoration. This term is commonly applied to the buildings of historical value. Now the strengthening. દર્શનભાઈ થર્ડ સ્લાઇડ દેખાય છે હવે?
ના નથી દેખાતી સર. એમાં કેવું છે, તમે સૌથી પહેલા સ્લાઇડ શો કરી દો, પછી તમે સ્ક્રીન શેર કરો, તેમાં જે સ્લાઇડ શો વાળો ઓપ્શન આવે ને એના ઉપર ક્લિક કરજો એટલે દેખાશે. હવે દેખાયું થર્ડ સ્લાઇડ દેખાયું.
ઓકે, પણ એની સાથે સાથે બોલે કેવું છે કે સાઈડની સ્લાઇડ
હવે ફોર્થ કરી જો ને એકવાર એટલે ખબર પડી જશે.
slide show is not running. फोर દેખાય છે હવે?
ના, હજી નથી આવી. હજી થર્ડ, અમને લોકોને થર્ડ જ દેખાય છે હજી. હા, હવે આવી ફોર્થ. હા, હવે ફોર્થ આવી, હવે થર્ડ આવી. યસ.
But you can see a side, the
હા,
side.
maybe I think એવું લાગે છે કે તમે ચેન્જ કરો તેના within 2-3 minutes lagging પછી આવે છે. So not an issue, we can proceed further.
Okay.
હા,
So strengthening. We will discuss about the strengthening now. So strengthening is a modification of the structures, not necessarily a damaged one, with the purpose of increasing the load carrying capacity or the stability with respect to its previous condition. It calls a strengthening. And retrofitting. Retrofitting is an upgrading of the certain building systems such as a mechanical, electrical, or structural to improve the performance or the functions or the appearance of the structures. It calls a retrofitting. So these all are the terminology you should understand before going to the further understanding the distress of the structure. So now we will go to causes of the RCC distress. What are the parameters which affects the distress in the RCC structure? So this we classified in a one normal condition. In the normal way, I have classified the causes of the RCC distress structures in the four. We have classified RCC distress structures into the four classification. First is the mechanical cause. We will see all causes in detail in next slides. First is the mechanical cause, chemical effects, physical cause, and natural calamities. So what are the mechanical causes? The mechanical causes means maybe abrasion, maybe fatigue, maybe impact, overload, movements in the structure or settlement, explosion in the structures, and the vibration in the structures. These all are the mechanical causes which create a distress in the structure. What are the chemical effects? When the chemical causes, you can consider alkali aggregate reactions. It happens because of the poor quality of materials. Then aggressive agents. Aggressive agents means the presence of the salt, sulfates, and saline waters, which can affect chemically on the RCC and it creates distress in the structure. Now the physical causes. Physical causes due to a freeze and throw, thermal effects, salt crystallizations, shrinkage, and erosion and the wear and tear. It comes under the physical causes of the distress. Natural calamities. As everyone knows, earthquake, tsunami, and fire. In earthquake, means if the structure is not properly designed for the required magnitude of the earthquake, the structures may go under the distress due to earthquake. Maybe a poor construction quality is also affected in the time of earthquake. Tsunami is also related to structure designs. At the time of designing, these all forces, if they are not considered, it may affect distress at the time of tsunami. Fire. The fire rating of the structures is also need to consider at the time of designing. So we have seen causes. Now what are the symptoms? Means after the causes, what are the symptoms? So due to these all causes in the structures, the delamination of the concrete may happen, the cracks may happen, the spalling of the concrete may happen, rusting of the corrosion of steel. It is also a symptoms of distress. Steel yielding, staining of the corrosion, that is also a symptoms of distress. Swelling of the concrete, these all are the symptoms of distress of the structure. Now we will see all the causes in a practical way. With the practical photographs, I will explain you what in this causes which we have discussed on the site, how you can rectify that. Dasan sir, you can see that slides number 11.
Slide number 10. It may be changed after a few minutes. Right now we are able to see the symptoms of distress. Yes,
Now you can see
now faulty design.
faulty designs. So due to the faulty designs, you can see here, means if there is a beam column joints are not properly designed, if the congestion of the steel is very high, it also causes a distress in the structures because proper concrete may not go into a proper place. This is improper joint design. Means if your joint design is not proper, then this kind of things can be happen on the site. This is also causes of distress is improper cover. This is a very common causes. Means this I have considered as a faulty design in such a way. Means at the time of designing, consultant specifying a proper, if they are not specifying a proper cover to the structures, it may go into a distress after some time. So improper cover is a very common cause of distress in the structures because the initiation of the corrosion or initiation of any kind of distress in the structures, it starts with improper cover. If cover of the concrete is not proper, then it may cause a very means environmental effects. It may cause a corrosion carbonation. It will start. So improper cover is a very major cause of distress in the structure. So this is also another example of faulty design, means improper analysis of settlement of piers. So it may cause a failure in the bridge structures. This is insufficient joint in the pavement designs. If joints are not specified correctly, so after uses of the structure, this kind of cracks will appear in pavements. So at the time of designing, these all things should be incorporated, so it will give a better structure and it will give a durable structure. Now we will see a poor construction practice which cause a distress in the structure. Means this photographs you may have seen on field many times. This kind of practice of poor construction means when the contractor is taking a job or a non-technical contractors take the jobs at a lower rates and they don't understand what is the value of the quality with the durability of the structure. So this kind of things pose a distress in the structure. This kind of honeycombs means due to the honeycombs, all the air, gases, other water seepage will happen in the structures and it causes a distress in the structure. This is column out of plumb. It's at the time of construction, contractor has not taken a proper care to cast a proper RCC column in proper shape. These photographs you can see a misalignment of the column. Up to the plane, the orientation of the column is different, and above the plane, the orientation of the column is changed by the contractor or maybe by the engineer. These all things may cause a distress in the structures because the structure is not in its own alignment. These are the shrinkage cracks. This is also happened due to the poor construction practices. This is also a non-engineered formwork practice. Means for a large beam or a very tall, means beam at a very tall height, if a proper formwork is not used, it may cause a poor construction, and in coming days that all fault create a distress in the RCC structure. Now we will see a chemical effects. What kind of chemical effects we have seen in the courses. So due to the chemical effects, carbonation of the concrete will happen and it leads to a corrosion of the concrete, and carbonation change the pH of the concrete. pH of the concrete is also a very important thing to maintain the durability of the structure. Due to the chemical, due to the chloride attack on the reinforcement bar, you can see this kind of pitch corrosion will happen to the reinforcement bar, and it leads to a distress in the structures. And once your bar will start corroding, the capacity will reduce of the structures and it start showing a distress in the structure. So this another thing is sulfate attacks. The sulfate present in atmosphere means in a very industrial area. The sulfur is present in environment also, and in the coastal region it present in the ground. So due to the sulfur effects, such kind of distress in the structures will happen, which you can see in the photographs. This is a pipe foundation. It's a pedestal. Above that, industrial pipeline is going, and this pedestal goes under the distress due to the sulfur attacks. In these photographs, this is the alkali silica reaction. This is also a chemical effect, you can see. If your ingredients are not proper and ingredients are affected with a chemical, so due to that alkali silica reactions will happen, and it creates such kind of distress cracks into your structure. Now we will understand carbonation. I told you about carbonation. Means carbonation happened due to the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It penetrates into the concrete and it goes up to a certain depth with the time period. So the carbonation effects, first it will reduce a pH value of your concrete. So if your pH value reducing less than 9, it goes to reducing and it converts your concrete into the acidic concrete, which is not good. Due to that, corrosion of your reinforcement will start, and due to the corrosion of the reinforcement, the distress in the structures will start. So as I told you, what are the factors affecting the carbonation? The factors affecting the carbonation is the grade of the concrete first. Means if your grade of the concrete is poor, then the effect of the carbonations will be more. So with the grade, if your grade of the concrete is higher, means if you are using M25, M30 grade of concrete, then the effect of the carbonations will be less on your structures. Permeability or a porosity of your concrete. This is also a factor which affecting for the carbonation of your cover of the concrete. As I told you, means cover of the concrete is a very important parameter and very common thing. Means it's a very simple thing to take care at the time of constructing any kind of structure. So if your cover is less, then the carbonation will start faster. The next parameter is the coating. Means if you have not applied any protective coatings on your RCC structures, then it also leads to a carbonation of the RCC structure. And the carbonation will cause a distress in the structure. Environmental conditions, in the temperature and the humidity. These two parameters also affect the carbonation. Means if your temperature is high, the rate of carbonation will be high. If your humidity is high, then also a carbonation will be high and it causes a distress in your structures. So this table gives you some rough estimate at the 10 years age of the structures. The depth of the carbonation may be up to a 17 mm. Means if your structure is older 30 years old, then your depth of the carbonations may be 30 mm. And the 100 years old structures, then the carbonation depth may be of 55 mm. So this is a general table given in some books or some papers. So nowadays, I mean, these tables and these things are written very few years back. But the way we are using resources and the way we are doing industrial development in our country. So now I think this the depth of the carbonation is changed. Means in a 5 years age structure also your depth of the carbonations may be a 20 mm. So when you are constructing any industrial structures, you must have to take care of carbonation, which leads to a very early distress in the structure. So as we have seen some photographs of carbonation, these are all the practical photographs of the distress in the structure due to carbonation. Now after the carbonation, another chemical effects means due to the chloride. What the chloride ion do? The chloride ion causes a serious electrochemical corrosion process in your structures. So which can lead to a loss of integrity, loss of structural integrity. And due to the chloride ions, the source of the chloride you can say in the sand, maybe a chloride, in the water, maybe a chloride ion is there. So chloride ion acts in a two way. It will reduce the pH by producing hydrochloric acid, HCl, and causes an alternate cathode anode for the corrosion of the reinforcement. So when your chloride ion reach to your reinforcement, it will start corroding and it reduce a pH. So there, because of that also, or your distress in the concrete may happen. So these are chemical effects which causes the distress in the structure. We have seen these photographs earlier also. This photograph is in some larger way for you. This is a pitting corrosion due to the chloride attacks on reinforcement bar. Such kind of pitting corrosion will happen. Now you can see a chloride attack on a structure. Means these are the some practical example of a chloride attack which causes the distress in the structure. You can see which kind of distress can cause due to a small chloride. So whenever you are constructing a structure, so you must have to take care of what kind of water you are using and what kind of ingredients, means sand, aggregates, which should not contain any kind of chloride in aggregate, or you can say in the whatever the material we are using for the concreting, it should not have a chloride in that. So such kind of photographs you can see this white film and the way of affecting on the reinforcement. You can see this reinforcement bar are reduced their diameter, and the day by day it goes corroded due to the chloride effects. Now, as we have seen in a chemical sulfate attacks. So this is an example of sulfate attacks. This sulfate attacks, you can see it is a different from the chloride. The pattern of distressing is different in the sulfate attacks. So such kind of distress you can see which is due to a sulfate attack. Both causes a corrosion in the reinforcement, but the chloride reduce the pH and its effect is different than the sulfate. When the sulfate attacks is there, you can see such kind of distress cracks, zigzag patterns of cracks in your RCC structures. So this is the reason of distress in RCC structures due to the sulfate attacks. Alkali silica reaction. So if you are using a poor aggregate or you are using a poor quality of the sand, then alkali silica reactions may cause distress in your structure. The alkali silica reactions is also causing such kind of cracks which creates an expansive gel with reacting with the water. So it causes a cracking in the concrete, and due to the cracking in the concrete, all the atmospheric effects will goes inside and it will lead to a corrosion of the steel from inside, and day by day it will cause a distress in the structures and it leads to a failure of the structure. This is also a photograph of alkali silica reactions. You can see on the surface such kind of cracks you may have seen in the practical field many times. So it is use of improper material which cause alkali silica reactions and it causes a distress in the structure. Inferior material, as I told you, means sand, aggregate, and steel also. If you are using an inferior quality of the steel, which has inadequate ductility, it will fail and it causes a distress in the structure. It will lead to a failure of the structure. In the failure of the steel, such kind of failure if you will find in the field, so this is maybe a shear failure of the reinforcement bar. So if your reinforcement of inferior quality at the time of earthquake, such kind of failures will happen. It's in the natural calamities. In the normal conditions, it may not give you such kind of failure, but at the time of natural calamities, so failure of the material may happen. This which we have discussed, reactive aggregate, inferior materials part. Now another causes we will discuss, which is a physical cause. Physical cause, in the physical cause, you can see this photograph. Due to the moisture, means due to the leakage of the plumbing pipe, you can see the moisture causes such kind.
Vijay, your voice is not audible. Vijay, your voice is not audible. One minute, maybe some technical issues.
Hello.
હા હવે બરાબર હા હવે આવે છે વિજયભાઈ.
Just a minute.
હા
Issues ને કારણે કદાચ. Now you can see and audible.
હા ઓડિબલ અને છે ને વિજયભાઈ પેલું સ્લાઇડ શો કરી દો ને સ્લાઇડ શો.
Now it is visible.
નો નો ઇટ ઇઝ નોટ સ્લાઇડ શો. હું શું કહું છું કે તમે છે ને સ્ક્રીન પહેલા બંધ કરી દો, શેર બંધ કરી દો, સ્ક્રીન શેરિંગ બંધ કરી દો.
Okay.
હા પછી તમે તમારી પીપીટી ને સ્લાઇડ શો કરો. એન્ડ ધેન હા હવે તમે પેલું સ્ક્રીન શેર નું ઓપ્શન ક્લિક કરો તો એમાં સ્લાઇડ શો વાળું જે હશે ને એના ઉપર ક્લિક કરો.
પણ હું સ્લાઇડ શો કરું છું તો ફૂલ સ્ક્રીન થઈ જાય છે ને પછી પેલું કેવું છે કે શેરિંગ નો ઓપ્શન નથી આવતો.
ના 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 હવે તમે છે ને પેલું આપણે
ટેપ થી આવશે.
અલ્ટર ટેપ કરીને માઇક્રોસોફ્ટ ટીમ માં જાઓ પાછા.
અચ્છા અલ્ટર ટેપ કરીને.
હા એટલે પેલી માઇક્રોસોફ્ટ ટીમ ની સ્ક્રીન દેખાશે તમને.
ઓકે.
હા હવે એમાં પેલું સ્ક્રીન શેર જ્યારે તમે ઓપ્શન પર ક્લિક કરશો ને તેમાં તમને સ્લાઇડ શો દેખાશે તો એના ઉપર ક્લિક કરો એટલે અમને બધાને સ્લાઇડ શો વાળી તમારી સ્ક્રીન દેખાશે.
Just a minute. હવે શેર કરો.
હા હા
Okay. Now it is visible?
1 minute. Ah, yes, now properly. Perfect. Ekdam. Barabar.
Okay. Sorry for disturbance. Now we will physical cause, a physical moisture movements which I have discussed here or not. Okay, I will again explain what is the physical cause. Means due to the moisture movement or leakage of the utility members, this kind of causes distress may happen in the RCC structures. You can show grow of vegetation due to the leakage of your utility pipes. This is the high temperature distress. High temperature distress happened at the time of fire of the structure. So when structure goes under the high temperature, the concrete can resist a very high temperature, but up to a certain period of the time. Because of that, whenever you are designing any kind of structures, you must have to take care of your cover of the concrete. Because when the fire happens, if your cover of the concrete is according to a fire resistance of the structures, then and only your structures can resist a fire temperature. If your cover of the concrete is not designed as per the fire resistance, then the structures undergoes a distress of the undergoes a distress. This is the another photograph of physical cause of plastic shrinkage. It's when you are concreting at that time, if you are not taking proper care of wind and sunlight, or even a water cement ratio, then such kind of plastic shrinkage, because shrinkage is percentage, or you can say proportionate to a dry volume of evaporation of the water. Means if you have used a very high water at the time of concreting, then the evaporation of the water, it will be a very high, and it will create a very large volume into the concrete at the time of the drying, and it creates a drying shrinkage into your concrete. So these are a basic things which you must have to take care, because this is the physical cause, but this care must be taken at the time of concreting, because this is a small thing cause a distress in the structures, and it leads to a very high distress in the structure. Now natural calamities as a causes which we have seen. So due to the earthquake, such kind of failures can be happen. This is a bulging. This is due to the tsunami. Tsunami, the foundations is failed, and the whole structures goes under the distress, and it leads to a failure of the structure. This photograph shows you a fire distress, and due to the fire, means all slabs, beams, columns, it goes under to a distress of the structures. Now another causes of the distress in the structures, it's a stray current. Stray current induce the corrosion into the steel. I will explain you how the stray current will induce the corrosion in the steel. It's whenever on a rail part, or you can say when a traffic moving on the road, and the traffic moving on a RCC structure. So in such kind of structures, this causes of distress may happen due to the stray current. You can see in this photograph a cycle of the how the current passes into a steel, and it how it leads to when it creates an anode cathode situation, and it leads to a corrosion in the reinforcement. So you can see this is a RCC pavement structure, and if there is a cracks into a RCC structure, means if you have not designed a proper joint in a RCC pavement, then such kind of cracks will happen into RCC concrete, and in the uses of that RCC road, this stray current corrosion will start to your rebars. So you can see, means one failure of the design will start leads to a cracks in the structure, and due to that stray current corrosion will start to your reinforcement. So all these things are connected. All the causes, means multiple causes are responsible for the distress in the structure. This photograph is also explain you a charge, means you can say here there is a substation or electrical power trains or power vehicles are moving, and you from the soil the current passes to your reinforcement or a pipeline. If your underground pipelines is also corroded due to this stray current, this is also a causes of distress in the structure. Now we have seen all the causes of the distress. Now we will see what are the testing methods, means how you can diagnose the distress, what amount of distress is there in the structures, how you will find out. Now we will see what are the testing methods to diagnose a distress in the structure. These are the methods of diagnosis: visual assessment, hammer chain delamination method, cover meter, which can find the presence of the reinforcement. This is also a testing method. Chloride analysis is one of the testing methods to find out a chloride. Phenolphthalein test on the carbonation on the concrete for the carbonation test. This is also a test. Hafsel potentiometer. This is also a test to find out a corrosion into the reinforcement. Resistivity test. Linear polarization test. It calls a corrosion rate test. Permeability test. Ultrasonic test. Petrography test, and the radar test to find out a distress in the structure. Now we will see some test in further details. So this is a very simple test. You can say a hammer test. Means with the sound of the concrete, you can take assumptions which quality of concrete is there. So if your sound is like a metal, so it says it is a good quality of the concrete. If your sound of the concrete is poor, from that you can judge the concrete quality is inferior. Now this is the phenolphthalein test. If you can take a carbonation test, you can take a core concrete from your existing structures to find out a carbonation depth. So after applying a phenolphthalein on your core concrete, you will see this kind of color difference on your concrete. If your concrete is carbonated, then you can see such kind of yellowish color on the concrete, and from that you can find out the depth of the carbonation, up to the which depth your concrete is damaged due to the carbonation. This pink color you are seeing means this is not affected concrete. If your pink concrete then it is alkaline concrete. And if it is carbonated concrete, then it is acidic concrete. So you can find out such things from the normal phenolphthalein test. Now, chloride analysis. How to find out what amount of chloride is present in your concrete. So this is the method on the side with this whole pipe. You drill into a RCC beam and you collect the sample of that RCC into a polythene, and that sample goes to a laboratory for the chemical composition test, and from that you can find out what amount of chloride is present into your concrete. So this is the chloride analysis test. Another is half shell potentiometer test using a CaSO4 and impedance digital voltmeter. You can find out what rate of corrosion is happening into your concrete. From that you can take a decision what kind of treatment you need to save your structure. So this is the table in ASTM. If your reading is less than 200 MB, it's a 10% risk of corrosion. So this CS and SE is a different, you can different chemical you have used to find out a rate of corrosion. So according to that, what is your result? You can classify your structure into a corrosion condition. Means if the result is less than 200 MB, then low corrosion condition. If your impedance result is minus 200 to minus 350 MB, then intermediate corrosion risk. And if your result is more than 500, then you can say the structure in very severe condition, or it is in a very severe corrosion is happening to your reinforcement. So due to using a half cell potentiometer, you can find out structure condition. This is another testing method, concrete resistivity. So concrete resistivity measures into the ohm into the centimeter, and this is the table available. According to your resistivity result, you can classify your corrosion probability. Means if your resistivity results are less than 5,000, sorry, greater than 20,000, then the probability of corrosion is negligible. If your resistivity results is between the 10,000 to 20,000, then you can say a corrosion probability is low. If your resistivity result is between 5,000 to 10,000, then your corrosion probability is very high. And if it is less than 5,000, then the corrosion probability is very high. So these are the testing tools available in the market to diagnose your distress of the structures. Now this is the rebound hammer. This is a very common tool in the field. Everyone might have used or have seen this rebound hammer. So now this is a digital kind of rebound hammers are available. So from the rebound number, you can classify the grade of the concrete, or you can classify a condition of the concrete. So if your rebound number is greater than 40, then you can say a very good quality of concrete or very hard concrete. If your rebound number is less than 40 and in between the 30 to 40, then you can say a good concrete. If rebound number is less than 30, between 20 to 30, then the quality of the concrete is fair. And if your rebound number is less than 20, then you can say a very poor concrete. So this rebound hammer test will help you to identify the initial condition of your concrete. After that, another testing method is ultrasonic pulse velocity test. In this figure, you can see this instrument. This is a UPV test instrument. So this is the transducers which you are applying to find out the velocity into the structures. This velocity will give you a quality of the concrete. So this classification you can identify with this table. If your velocity is less than 3 km per second, then you can say your concrete is very poor. Means if your time period is increasing, if your velocity is increasing, means if your velocity is greater than the 4, then you can say a very good quality of concrete. So UPV will not give you a grade of the concrete, but it can give you what kind of honeycombs into your concrete. If you have casted a M40 grade of concrete, but due to the congestion of the steel, if proper concrete is not poured into the structures, then it may also lead to a very poor concrete. So UPV will guide you to understand what kind of honeycomb is present into your concrete, and it gives you some idea about the quality of the concrete. So this is the velocity table. From that you can identify your concrete, poor concrete to good concrete. Now another testing tool is a rebar locator. So using the rebar locator, you can find out a concrete cover is proper or not. The depth of the rebar and the location of the rebar you can identify using this rebar locator. Means if your concrete cover is good, if your rebar location find out in a proper conditions, then you can identify or you can say it's a good quality of the structure. So this is a table from that you can understand its required cover thickness and the good quality concrete. It's relatively not corrosion or very low corrosion. It's required cover thickness and the bad quality cover of the concrete, then it prone to a corrosion. If your concrete cover is very less, then as we discussed, it's a very high corrosion prone concrete. So using this rebar locator, you can identify your condition of the concrete. Now this is another tool which can gives you a width of the crack. And sometimes you are watching many kind of cracks on the structures, but some decisions can be taken with the width of the crack. Means what of the crack in the RCC structure. It gives you an idea, or you can say you can find out the reason behind such kind of crack. So if your cracks due to the shrinkage, then its width is different. If your cracks is due to the overload in the structures, then the pattern of the cracks will be different and the width of the crack is also different. So using this digital crack gauge or a crack measuring magnifier, you can measure a crack width, and after measuring a crack width, you can diagnose your RCC structures and you can find out because of which reason this distress is happened in the RCC structure. So we have seen all testing methods. Now another part means first we have seen causes, what kind of causes which leads to a distress in the structures. After the causes, we have seen all testing methods, or you can say a diagnosis methods to identify a distress in the structures. After identification, you should require to repair your RCC structures. So we will see what are the factors affecting to decide a repair material. So what are the factors influencing the repair methodology? So first, type and extent of damage. Means after the testing, you can come to a conclusion which type of cause and which extent of damage in the structure is there. And according to that, you should decide a repair methodology for the structure. Another, environmental condition. So environmental conditions also influence a repair methodology. Another is a loading pattern. Means if your structure is distressed due to the overloading, then the pattern of the loading is also a very important factor to decide a proper repair methodology. Another factor is the shape and the function of the structure. What kind of shape is there and what the function of the structures. According to a shape and the function of the structures, the repair methodology may change and it affects to decide a proper strategy. Then another factor which influence a repair methodology, this is accessibility. If your structure is underwater, underground and overhead, the accessibility of the structures also influence the repair methodology. So when you are deciding means the distress in the structure of underwater structures, then which kind of material should be used and what kind of technique should be used to get it repaired. If it is underground, means underground tank and overhead tanks or overhead structure. So accessibility is also one factor which influence the repair methodology. Another factors which affects is importance of the structure. If your structure is categorized in a very important structure, VVIP structure, or you can say monument structures. So this also affect in deciding a repair methodology. Another factor is time availability. In how much time you need a repair. That factor also affects deciding a repair methodology. Another factor is economy. Economy is a very big factor, or you can say a very vital role in deciding a repair methodology. Means sometimes people choosing a very economical things, but they are not choosing a proper repair method. Because of that, also the distress increase in the structures and it leads to a failure of the structures. So in our practical experience, many times we have seen some buildings which are affected into the earthquake. The structure affected into the earthquake and properly not diagnosed by a proper person. Then the building members have repaired that building with a local contractor without diagnosing a proper investigation. That structure goes lead into the failure after some years. because if you have not done a proper repair to the structures, it will never work. So economy is a very big role, but you are choosing a based repair method and based economical method. So this factors is a very vital factors at the time of deciding any kind of repair method. The another factors is aesthetical consideration. Means the aesthetical is also a very vital role. Means if your structure has a very good architecture, so you must have to maintain that aesthetical view and aesthetical value of the structure. And at the time of repair, you must have to consider this aesthetical consideration in deciding the material, in deciding your repair method. Now we will discuss about a repair material. We have seen a material factors which influence. What are the repair materials available in the market? In the conventional material, you can say repair mortars available, repair concretes available, granites, shotcretes. These all are the conventional material available for the repair. Nowadays, new generation materials are coming with the research and the repair materials. So polymers, epoxies, polyurethanes, injection grouts, underwater grouts, underwater epoxies, anti-carbonation coatings, ECAM techniques, and composite fiber wrappings. These all are the new generation material for the repair. Now, after repair material, now we will see a repair techniques. What kind of repair techniques to use this kind of materials and to repair your structure. So these are the general techniques of the repair. Means graniting, shotcreting, grouting, injection grouting, polymer mortar application, concrete replacements, concrete jacketing, microconcrete encasement, epoxy mortar, epoxy concrete application, epoxy steel plate bonding. This is also a repair technique. External pre-stress technique to repair. Then composite fiber wrapping and ECAM repair. These all are the repair techniques. Now we will see all these techniques into much detail with the photographs. I will explain you all these techniques with some practical photographs. So this is the photographs of shotcreting. When you are using a repair mortar or a repair concrete with high pressure on the structures. So this is it calls a shotcreting. So it creates a very good bond with old concrete and it gives a very durable repair to the distressed structures. So this is a shotcreting techniques. In that you can see this gunman is spraying a concrete directly onto the beam. So the concrete will stick to old concrete and the repair of the structures will happen. Now this is the injection grouting. This injection grouting is used to reduce the porosity in the concrete, or you can say reduce the honeycombs in the concrete. It's at the time of construction, if your concrete has a honeycomb, then it leads to a leakage or it leads to a distress in the structure. So your concrete must be very dense and it should be a non-permeable concrete, because this porosity is small things it leads to a very big distress in the structure, because in the porosity there is air is present. The air will goes hot and wet according to further environmental effects. Then it leads to a corrosion, or it leads to a leakage in the structures. So when there is a leakage in the structures, so this is the injection grouting method to stop the leakage and to increase the density of your concrete. So this photograph shows you a injection grouting into a wall masonry. This shows you into a slab. I will show you one video. Means this is an example of epoxy injection grouting into the structure to enhance the capacity of the structure, or you can say it reduce the honeycomb and you can say if you want to increase the strength of the concrete little bit, means from the M25 to M30, you can use this kind of techniques to enhance the concrete capability. So in this video you can see this photographs. This is the nozzle. This it's called the packers into the structure. So it is embedded into RCC columns, and using this pump you can see, using this pump you are injecting epoxy material into the RCC column. So this is the technique of injection grouting. Now we will see another repair techniques. It's a concrete stitching. And due to the overloading or due to other factor, if your concrete is cracked, so you can use a stitching techniques to bound your concrete. This is the concrete jacketing. This is the jacketing of the RCC beam. So in that you are increasing the size of the concrete, size of the section according to your requirement and according to your site condition. This is the example of polymer application. This is the bridge girder, which is repaired using a polymer modified mortar. You can see in this section. This pier cap and this beams of your bridge section is repaired using a polymer modified mortar. So in this polymer modified mortar, you do not need a shuttering. You just have to apply you are applying as a plaster on the structure. Now this is the another techniques of jacketing. Means jacketing of the columns is using a micro concrete. So micro concrete, when you are using a micro concrete, you must have to take care your shuttering should be leak proof, because micro concrete is a very fine concrete and it is a self level concrete. So when you are pouring a micro concrete into your repair structure, you must have to take very good care of shuttering. This is another photograph of jacketing of the column using a micro concrete or maybe using a normal concrete. This is the example of the steel plate bonding. It calls embrace system, which increase the flexural strength of the slab. So in these techniques, the steel plates are embedded into the slab using this anchors, and it enhances the flexural capacity of the slab. This is another technique of steel banding. You can see these steel rods are rounded around the columns to increase. Here you can see beams also banded with the steel rod. So it increases a flexural, or you can say a tensile capacity of the structure. This is also a technique, composite fiber wrapping. It's a carbon fiber wrapping, which we have. This is another technique, ECAM techniques. This is a zinc anode in the ECAM techniques. This is already a corroded structure. You can see it's after few years. If your reinforcement bars are corroded due to a chloride attack, or maybe due to some another environmental effects, if your steel rods are corroded, so at the time of repair, you can use this such kind of sacrificial anodes into the structures, because this zinc anode will sacrifice and it prevents corrosion into the reinforcement. So this kind of techniques used in a very coastal area where the rate of corrosion is very high. And this this sacrificial anode you can use in the new construction also. At the time of new construction, you can put this zinc anode into the structures at proper spacing, so you can avoid a corrosion into your steel and you can save your structures for a longer time. These are the sacrificial anodes available in the market. This is also a sacrificial anode zinc jacket in a sea when very old bridge in the sea is getting deteriorated or getting distressed due to saline water and environmental effects. So such kind of life jackets can be used as a repair techniques to reduce the corrosion into the piers, and it saves the life of the bridge. So all this repair techniques which we have seen, which I have tabulated in one format. So I will repeat these things. So you will have a more idea about it. Which we have seen a repair techniques, injection grouting. So when the injection grouting can be applied, means to seal the cracks and pores in the concrete to arrest the leakage, you can use this kind of techniques. And what kind of material you can use for the injection grouting? It may be a epoxy, it may be a polyurethane, or it may be a cement based material. Another techniques we have seen, the graniting techniques. In which kind of distress you can use this kind of techniques? Up to thickness, means your thickness is very high of the repair. In that conditions, you can use this graniting techniques. And for graniting, you can use a graniting mortars or polymer mortars or as a material. Repair techniques we have seen the jacketing. That is also, it can be applied in reinstatement of the damaged concrete for the strengthening of the structures or load enhancement of the structures, you can use the jacketing techniques. And for the jacketing, you can use a micro concrete and you can use a normal concrete. So stitching, we have seen in the photographs to repair a crack in the concrete. For the stitching, you can use the epoxy grout and polyester grouts. External pre-stressing, that also we have seen in the photographs. For the external pre-stressing, HST bars and anchors are used as a material. When your concrete is a crack concrete members, when you are using this kind of repair technique. Micro concrete enhancement techniques we have seen. So we can use a shrinkage compensating free flow micro concretes as a material. And in which kind of distress you can use this technique is extensively damaged concrete beams or columns, which enhance the carrying capacity and increase the flexural rigidity of the structure. Another repair techniques we have seen, steel plate bonding. So in that, anchor grouts are used, epoxy bonding agents can be used as a material. And this technique is used when your structure is weakened and deflected. So in such kind of distress, you can use such kind of techniques for the repairs. Composite fiber wrapping. This kind of techniques which we can use in strengthening, buckling and deflections. Such kind of distress can be repaired by using a carbon fiber wrapping. I will show you a carbon fiber wrapping application also as a one example. So fiber wrapping, there are glass fibers are also available, carbon fibers available, aramide fibers are also available, and nowadays basalt fibers are also available for a fiber wrapping. So such kind of materials can be used for the repairs in such kind of distress. ECAM techniques I have explained you in a very brief. So to prevent a long-term corrosion, you can use ECAM techniques for the repairs. So as a table, we have seen the repair materials, anti-corrosive coatings, bonding agents, injection grouts, polymers, microconcrete, underwater microconcretes, and sealing materials. Now I will explain you one sequence of application of one project for the repair. From that you can have an idea in field how the application of such kind of material is happening. So first we will see if you want to repair such kind of columns with using a carbon fiber wrap. So what is the first step? First step is that you must have to remove a deteriorated concrete from the surfaces and the chipping of the deteriorated concrete. This is the first step of the repair. After chipping, reinstatement of the damaged concrete. So reinstatement of the column by using polymer mortar. You can see in this photograph, the polymer mortar is going to apply on your RCC column. After reinstatement of the column, such kind of grinding can be applied on your RCC column to get a proper surface for bonding of the fiber wrap. So such kind of grinding is also needed to make your rectangle corners into your round corners. So rounding of the concrete edge is very important and it is must when you are using a carbon fiber wrapping system. So after grinding, the surface cleaning. there should not be any kind of dust on the surface before application of bonding. So using this kind of blowers, you can clean the surface, or using this kind of brush, you can clean your surface. After cleaning, first application is a primer application. So this is the epoxy primer, which is used, or you can say a glue, for the application of the carbon fiber wrapping. So after application of primer, if you have such kind of pores on the concrete surface, so that pores you can fill with the epoxy putty, and you can go ahead for the further application. So this is the carbon fiber membrane. So according to your measurements, cutting of the fibers means cutting of the fibers in the longitudinal and in the lateral direction. Then after application of the primer, this epoxy saturant is applied before your carbon wrap is applied. So this saturant will bound with the old RCC column with your carbon fiber wrap. So this is application of carbon fiber wrapping on your structures. After a proper application, for removing any kind of bubble or air from your wrap system, such kind of rollers can be used to remove air from the fabric. This is the example of application of carbon fiber wrapping system. So thank you so much for listening me. After that, means I want to say some practical view. Means in the field, when you are going into the field or you are using any kind of structures, you should, what you should do and what you should not do, that I will explain. This is a few slides. So this is the balcony, open balcony. This photograph is turned around. This is the open balcony. That balcony is used as a bathroom, or you can say extension of the rooms. So this should not be happen in the practical field. Means if your structure is not designed for your overload, or you can say a change of your use, you should not do in the site. This is another example. People are using a flower pot into the balcony sections. People are using a fountain, such kind of flower pot, fountains into the balcony sections. This should not be done in the field, because these all small things causes a distress in the structures, and it leads to a failure of the structure. Some people are using a terrace garden, but they are not seeing what is a condition of their slabs. Means when you are using a terrace garden, then your beam sections must be supported using a brick masonry or any kind of RCC wall. So this kind of thing should be done in the field. Such kind of practice should not be done in the field. In this terrace garden, this beam is open, and this beam is cut by RCC or spiral stairs. So such kind of things will disturb the integrity of the structure. If your structure is not properly integrated or in the harmony, so it will start showing you a distress in the structure. So many times people do, this is a flat A and this is a flat B. If they purchase both the flats and they start making a common flat, And in that, sometimes they remove beams, columns, they disturb the structural system. So such kind of things should not be happen into the field. In the parking basements, sometimes people are chamfering that column. So chamfering of the columns without understanding or without designing, it should not be done. This is the brick wall. Brick wall, the presence of the brick wall. Whenever you are designing a beam, you are calculating a wall load into that beam. But when you are designing a slab, you are not considering any additional brick wall load onto the slabs. So it will change the behavior of these slabs and it cause a distress in the structure. So in the field, whenever you are constructing any kind of wall, you must have to construct the wall above the beam only. You should not construct any wall on the slab. So at the last, I will say a prevention is the better cure than the deterioration. So if you prevent your structures properly, it will not go under to distress in a near future. So thank you so much.